listening to Pop This, the podcast where three women talk about pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen, Andrea Gin, and Andrea Warner.
All right, friends, I just want to say it's decorative gourd season, mother effers.
Yay! Yay! What a great time of the year. I have already eaten 2 pumpkin pies in my home.
I had my first PSL latte.
Oh, you
last week.
And
it was glorious. It was a highlight. Can
I just ask a question to all of us, which I guess that means I'll participate in. When did it get to be such a bad thing to like fall? When did it become like you're just basic and horrible if you're getting into like sweaters and pumpkin spice and you just love the change in the seasons? When did that happen?
Well, it's big summer. That's why.
Because
big summer people hate fall because it means the end of summer. So they've been mounting an assault on the crispy beauty of fall. The crispy, cool beauty of fall.
I think it happened because pumpkin spice invaded everything. The ubiquity, the overkill. Like when you have a pumpkin spice macaroni, I mean, like, no.
The hummus was a bit much, I think.
I just think it became
Have
so
you tried
popular. It became basic.
No, I know, but maybe it is to do with the fact too that, just to be quite simple, it was a female thing too, right? There were a lot of women that liked it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's
dudes
definitely
like summer.
Well, I haven't, I'm still obviously ongoing, going to be examining my internalized misogyny for a long time. Definitely pumpkin spice, which I hate, but I do love decorative gourd season, and pumpkin pies. So I still have to work through some things. I find the pumpkin spice onslaught. It's just like being told that I'm supposed to like something. I find a bit.
That's like Christmas to me.
Oh yeah, and I love Christmas.
Well, I know I have the same feeling as Andrea Warner does. It's just that like you're told constantly by society that Christmas is great and fun and you should love it, and it just kind of makes me not want to participate in Christmas.
Oh, I love Christmas too.
I know, I love Christmas too.
To be fair, I am so boring. I like every season. If you were to say to me spring, I would go, spring is so fantastic. All those flowers and fresh buds. And then you said winter, and I'd go, winter's great. Who doesn't love a good snowfall? Think of Lorelai Gilmore walking through the streets of Stars Hollow. Do you smell snow? Do you smell snow? So maybe I'm the absolute wrong person to investigate
You're
this.
for all seasons.
I am like a tire. I am an all-season Lisa. Yeah. You can take me anywhere at any time.
That's great. I really like mulled wine, and I also really like the one day in fall you can just wear a slightly heavier sweater as a coat.
Yes.
I feel
that was today.
Really great about that. That's great for me. I love that.
Yeah.
I love fall too. It's pumpkin spice. I don't really participate in, but I will say again, have I already eaten 2 pumpkin pies at home? Yes.
How about Halloween candy? Who can say that's a bad thing? Nobody.
Oh, no, I love Halloween candy, of course.
And Halloween.
Yep.
I mean, the mixes vary. We've all got, our favorite, 5 chocolate bar mix box.
For sure.
There's always one bad one in there. Always an O. Henry or a Mr. Big or something.
I love O. Henry and I love Mr. Big.
Oh, I
don't
hate
want
O. Henry and
anything
Mr.
to do
Big.
with, I don't want a Mars bar anywhere near my mouth.
You two should collaborate on buying boxes then.
What about Reese?
Really
Because they shrunk those. The Reese peanut butter cup.
The peanut butter cups. I'm a truther about this. They've been getting smaller every year.
Yeah.
Pretty soon they're going to be they won't be able to make the minis anymore because that's the size the regular Reese cups will be.
Weirdly or ironically, they did create the giant Reese, right? That really
the hockey puck one.
Yes,
I love
that.
Carlos
know how to make
home.
them big. They know how.
Carlos brought one of those home, but he got it with the potato chip layer.
Oh,
and I have to say, that was pretty tasty.
Oh, where do you get that? Is that one of those unusual stores with weird snack foods?
I don't think he's been to Dank Mart in a while. I think he got it at just Shoppers or Save-On or something.
A Shoppers or a London Drugs.
Really?
Yeah.
2 possible sponsors for this podcast have Giant Reese.
I'm just need to know that. That's information that
I'll
I
ask
can
him
use.
after, and then I'll text you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
no
you.
worries.
That's
You
what I
eat
want
those?
instead of a pumpkin pie, like a Reese peanut butter
Just a
cup
large
that
Reese
is
peanut
the
butter.
size of a pie.
You know
That's
what?
my
I-
dream.
I was just gonna say, is that how you eat it? Do you slice it up into pie pieces and then
No, you just,
serve it
bite
on a plate?
You got to be careful. It melts really quickly, though. You can't really hold it
You
for too
hold
long.
it with ice packs and then you just gum on it.
Yeah. Just sit there all by yourself. It's like the giant Hershey's Kiss that you can get too. That giant one. Oh my goodness.
My sister makes little peanut butter cookies with a mini Reese in the middle. And the mini Reese is exposed, so it's almost like a thumbprint cookie, and the indent is the mini Reese cup. And it's pretty tasty.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
like one of those. You can buy the
right.
Hershey's giant chocolate chips too, and put them in a peanut butter cookie, which I've done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you can do that for sure. But I like it when, do you guys remember a place called Cookies by George?
Oh yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I
The
loved
big
Cookies
giant
by George.
cookies.
Well, they even had their normal size cookie always included one larger chunk of
Yes,
melted
a
chocolate.
big chunk in the middle.
A big chunk in the middle. And I really loved when you'd get the cookie that had the white chocolate chunk, it would get a little caramelized from being baked. And I love a little bit of caramelized white chocolate. So nice.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I know.
There was
As
a cookie
usual,
by
heading over to
George.
snack foods. So.
Is Cookies by George still around?
I think
I don't think so.
I
not
don't
that I
think
know
so.
of. There used to be one in Harbor Center when I was at
Yeah.
grad school, and that was that really kept us going.
Yeah.
I think there was one in Richmond Center too.
There was one on Denman
while.
Street as well. And
It's kind of like the cupcake craze. We don't find those as often now as we used to.
no, for sure. But I really did love Cookies by George. I did see there was a Cookies by George in Calgary when I was there 6 years ago. And so it was nice to go in, grab a couple cookies, and leave.
We're gonna have to do a road trip where we go to the remaining Cookies by George and the remaining muffins, and,
Muffins.
other Canadian, the malt
And the
stop.
Cinnabons. The
Yeah,
Cinnabons.
yeah.
I want Cinnabons.
Well, what sort of I was gonna say, what sort of baked good now is the thing? Is it
I think donuts are still hot.
just
Yeah,
yeah,
donuts
like
are so
exotic
hot.
donuts? You're right. The ones with
Yeah.
it's got bacon and nasturtiums on it or something, and you're like, ooh, yum.
There's a good little it's like a stuffed donut place in Chinatown. And they're
Mellow?
Mellow,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
a
Oh,
yes.
I
delicious
had
donut
that. That
place.
was delicious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was really
yeah.
tasty. So there's a lot of, and there, I find that there's a lot of really cool Korean dessert places, Japanese dessert places. They're sort of cropping up all over, and I feel like this is going to be the future of dessert in Vancouver for sure.
I feel like my fame aspirations are not to have a drink named after me, but a stuffed donut.
Yes.
Like that. If I had my own stuffed donut, I'd feel so that I'd peak. That'd be it. I get out.
I'm Andrea Warner,
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Gin.
and we have Cynara Geissler joining us again. Yay!
Yay!
Yay.
Hi.
Oh wow! That was drama.
Sup?
It's her loquaciousness that
Yeah.
made us want to bring her back, and we want to apologize for that. We're talking about LuLaRich, which is what you recommended when you were on for the White Lotus episode a few weeks ago, Cynara.
It is. That documentary actually made me realize that I could empower women through social retail. So the reason I'm back is I'm looking for recruits for my downline.
I knew it.
To share in the blessings, # women empowering women. So I was hoping after you all watched it, you would really want to get in on this.
Yeah, what are you selling?
Oh, I'm a LuLaRich retailer.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you invented your own product. No.
I was really moved by this.
Just by coincidence, I too have been selling LuLaRich and was hoping that I could get all three of you so I could become a mentor with you. And I can only assume you guys would be so thrilled to have me as a mentor. I just can't even.
So essentially, you're both watching the documentary and Googling how to sign up for LuLaRich.
I was taking notes. Were you not all? Is that not?
I mean, I took notes, but that was for my own personal investigation into white nonsense, which I'm constantly sort of love leading that. As someone who constantly benefits from white nonsense, I feel it's my duty to sort of bring it down and just goodness gracious, this is peak, how I've always often complained about how cults are basically white supremacy in action a lot of times, and they all have a little Venn diagram of white supremacy somewhere in there, and this one also does to such an extent that's wow, it's wild. Anyways.
So question.
Yeah.
Do any of us own any LuLaRich products?
I do.
Do you really?
I do. And I will tell you. So I want to say 2016, I wrote an article called Toddler Grandma Style, which was all about mixing prints and how older women and younger kids seem to be most allowed to have fun with fashion. But when you're an adult, you have to wear grayish and you have to wear suits and you're not allowed. So it was just an article about what if you didn't dress for a certain male gaze? And what if you wore what made you happy, even if that's a Tigger onesie or whatever. Just why do we have to, what rules are we following and for who? And someone who sold LuLaRich reached out to me and was like, hey, I really like this article and it really resonated with my community. Which you can see why it would, because they're all about prints, right? So she offered to send it to me and I was like, well, I'm not really, I don't do an influencer thing. This isn't my job. I'm just a fat lady that wears clothes on the internet. I'm not, it's not entrepreneurial or enterprise in any way. But yeah, she sent me a dress. It's actually really good. So it must have been in the early days when the product
before
was,
the fabric.
The product was nice. It's a black dress with a little puff sleeve. It's stretchy. It's got an exposed zipper. It has a lilac print, a daffodil print on it. It's really good. I was sent leggings as well, and I did not like them and got rid of them very quickly. So I just don't think I'm a leggings person.
That was not the answer I was expecting. I've got to say that.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think when I first heard about it, I realized it was an MLM because it had much chicer, and you see it through the documentary, branding. Most of the stuff where I can tell it's an MLM is the stuff that I grew up around. So the Regal catalog, if you remember that.
I do remember that.
And Amway, of course, Avon, Mary Kay, got to get that pink Cadillac. There was baskets. Do you remember these baskets? I forget what they were called, but there's literally a building that looks like a giant basket.
Oh, yeah, so I've seen that.
Yeah, so I forget the name of these baskets, but when you grow up working class in a suburb, there's a lot of those direct sale. There's always somebody who's doing Avon or who's
a Tupperware
doing
party
or Pampered Chef or Tupperware.
Yeah.
That's I remember being, and it is kind of fun when you're a kid because these adults come over that you don't necessarily know and they're hanging out, and if you're me, a weird little nerd who just wants to be guess what book I read, talking to adults about whatever you're doing. I loved it. So I didn't and it was very cool that you were I thought the idea of being a door-to-door salesman was cool. You had your own products that you were then selling to people in their house. Like, that seemed very fancy to me because I only thought cool things could be in a store. Is that, I don't know, is that naive? But I was just like, wow.
No, I
Look,
get it.
she's
Like,
got a whole box full of makeup. Like, that was very exciting to me as a kid.
That's super cool. Yeah. Like, and especially like I think especially for like working class homes, like the idea of entrepreneurship and like being able to work for yourself is quite a fantasy. It's quite a dream. Like it's completely how you get out from under the thumb of so many different sort of, or you think you're getting out from under the thumb of so many different like sort of oppressive workforces and bad bosses and stuff like that. And so I get that completely.
I had an aunt in the 80s who sold skincare products. And I remember she came over to our house. And my sister and I were very confused because it's like some brand we had never heard of. And like the whole concept of MLMs was like totally unknown to us at that time. But now that I look back on it, I just imagine her with like a garage full of these skincare products that she just sold to all of my relatives. And yeah, it makes me think.
Yeah. You know what we haven't even done? We haven't even read Cynara's bio. We haven't talked about the synopsis.
Done anything.
We just like jumped right in here.
It's that kind of show, though.
It is that kind of show for sure. Yeah. I'll read Cynara's bio. Cynara Geissler is a chronically ill writer, performer, editor, and book publishing professional who invented hashtag toddler grandma style, which that article still famous. Loves to talk about pop culture, fat liberation, feminism, and feelings. She has appeared on our podcast numerous times. And also, including the Poltergeist episode, Cruel Intentions, and our recent White Lotus episode. Also, excellent podcast guest in general. Great job. Thank you, Cynara, for coming back.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out, but you came back.
No. I love it. I'm going to get you all to join my MLM eventually. So every time's a new opportunity.
Joining something is always my plan B. If everything else falls apart and I got to get a new group of friends, I got to get a whole new belief system. You know, it's good to know there's some MLM out there that I can just throw my heart, soul, and money into. So, it always makes it, whenever you see people talking about it, especially in this documentary, everyone seems to have full lives before they jump in. But where are those people that didn't have anything going on at all anyway, and this became their new family and fun and all of that? I guess there's shades of that in this.
Well, the guy who really loved Kelly Clarkson and then couldn't anymore, I feel like that was his story.
Yeah, volleyball.
No, but yeah, he loved reffing teen girl volleyball.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, you're right.
He was on the fast track until LuLaRich made him choose between working for them and high school referee volleyball stardom, which I don't think I knew was a thing. So that I really learned a lot about.
This is a whole documentary about things I knew nothing about.
Anything's possible in America.
Yeah.
Truly.
It really is. The other thing I wanted to say was sausage MLMs were quite popular in Manitoba, like selling like coils of garlic sausage as a fundraiser. I don't know if this was popular anywhere outside of the prairies, but like everyone was trying to sell you sausage. I mean that as literally. Like it just, everyone walked around with a million coils of garlic sausage, just trying to get you to buy in. I don't know why we thought this was a good way to raise money for band trips, but that's what was happening.
I would give you lots of money for that, for sure.
I could get in on that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Should I start doing that now?
I only ever got to sell candy
Yes.
and gift wrap, honestly. So I would, like a sausage coil? What a treat.
Yeah, look at, you've already made 3 sales of sausage coils.
Yeah.
Like,
If you look down again, Sausage Nara is coming to your house, covered in garlic coils, just ready to bring you meat.
I'm kind of surprised that wasn't a LuLaRich print. Just sausages everywhere. Just cut to the chase, you know?
Lisa, do you want to read the synopsis?
Sure. 5 years ago, the multi-level marketing company LuLaRich had more than 80,000 independent sellers hawking its loudly printed leggings and other Technicolor clothing via Facebook Live and in-person dress parties. The business snowballed into a billion-dollar company by promising stay-at-home moms full-time money for part-time work, but of course that promise was too good to be true. In 2019, Washington State's Attorney General brought a lawsuit against LuLaRich, accusing it of being a pyramid scheme, and the operation has crumbled under a social media drubbing from former retailers who say they received moldy, flimsy leggings to sell, and that's from Rachel Syme of The New Yorker. So that sums it up.
I'm really drawn to media about scams and heists. I think maybe because I was raised to be such a rule follower and sort of like to have these good morals and do honest work and all of this stuff. And so I think like that's why I watch stuff like The Bling Ring, and then for the first half of it, I'm always like, why am I so law-abiding? Like, I should be a criminal. It seems so much better. But then when you kind of get to the middle, you're always like, oh, actually, it turns out crime really doesn't pay.
Yes.
Or if it does, it's just to, it just punches down and hurts more people.
Yeah, I was going to say, crime
really
does pay
helps.
for a certain group.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to make sure you're in on that group right there at the beginning.
Yeah, like if you're truly willing to just be Satan himself, crime will pay, right? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about this documentary that is so wild. Like, I mean, we see, I mean, I'm not trying to skip to the end, but like we see that after LuLaRich has its comeuppance, we see one of the women interviewed is talking about her own accountability. And her complicity in sort of, basically like defrauding people and making them lose their homes. And she really seems to be having like an actual sort of like wrestling match with her conscience and her guilt and stuff like that. And I'm really glad that they depict that. But they also sort of introduce us to a couple of other, women who had been retailers of this product. One who states that she loves this job. She's never giving it up. She will stay with them forever. And another who can't comment on anything legally, but is still clearly financially benefiting from LuLaRich. Like, I don't actually think they are extricated from the company.
That one woman you kind of couldn't tell because she was like, no comment on the amount of bonuses I have made. Like, she didn't want to say the amount of money, which is how you know she was in that like top 0.1%,
top
right?
tier.
Yeah. I found it fascinating to learn that like once you get to the 13th tier of the MLM, like that's the entire population of the world. Like, it's not that many tiers. Like, you really got to get in super duper early to be living in that private jet lifestyle, right?
I just like can't believe though that the company still has, allegedly at the end of this documentary, like 20,000 people who are still actively selling.
Yeah, it
this
seems
product.
like it's still super successful like that. Like hasn't been damaged from this documentary
so far. I'm just like curious about the fallout of it because like obviously
it's only been out less than a month, right? Didn't it come out in the end of September?
End of August maybe, but yeah, like I mean it hasn't. Yeah. But I just think like, but they already went through like, I mean they have the sort of deposition. They have like the judgments that have come against the company. They've had to change things in order to, obfuscate that they it was an MLM. Like the only one who seems to have legitimately suffered is the guy who ended up getting scammed himself, the nephew who gets scammed himself. A marijuana Ponzi scheme. The fact that he had tried to recruit one of the... Anyway, though, this documentary is wild on a lot of levels, but I guess like the ultimate thing is just the intense level of greed and the no qualms about taking money from your friends at any cost or your community because you have a different community that requires you do this like downline damage.
Well, the woman who's a successful seller, I was wondering, the woman, the only woman of color we see. So there's Lachey, and then there's one other woman of color who's like, I love this, and now I have like an in-ground pool. Like I went from living in a 4 people in a 1-bedroom apartment to this in-ground pool. She never talks about any of the prosperity gospel stuff or downlines. And I just wondered, like, is she just a really good salesperson selling to her community who is separate from the mostly white, like, community that is being sold everything else? Like, is she truly just so good at sales that this works great for her? Like, I really was like, could have used a follow-up there. Like, I'm so curious.
I want another whole documentary with just her, because we don't get enough of her, and we get to know. I think this is a flaw of the documentarians, is that they do address, issues of race and racism within the MLM, but they also the only woman that they depict as staying with the company and being proud to do so is the other woman of color, and they don't give us more information about that, but the only context they give us is that she had been very poor and now she's not. And I mean, I think that is huge when you have a family, and huge when you've only known poverty, and now you can have these, things that like aren't even just luxuries, but like basically a roof over your head and like food on the table, and you can pay your bills. Like, but we don't get enough context.
Yeah. I think I was going to just like going back to another point. I found it interesting when one of the retailers was like, what, this is bad, but like there are so many other companies out there doing the exact same thing. And if this is bad, like there are hundreds and thousands of other companies operating in the exact same manner. And it's true, like all of us have seen on Facebook friends and our acquaintances kind of involved in sort of similar type schemes. And it just seems so pervasive. And so it is interesting that the LuLaRich stuff was the one that exploded and all this happened to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exponential growth, like that's the other thing that really interests me, is this like the sheer bald capitalism part of it, right? Like that's such a capitalist thing. Like you can't just let your company grow slowly. It has to be exponential. We have to be designing 100 prints a day. We have to be onboarding
so crazy,
500 people like every 2 days. Like that as a business plan, when like I gather they were only using Google Docs to manage their inventory, was just like truly wild to hear about it. But like, yeah, that designer who was like making art with a gun against my head, and so there's all these lawsuits, right, of like stolen artists who successfully sued them for stealing their designs and all this stuff. And I'm just like, it's amazing that I think, that first story that Deanne tells at the beginning where she's like, my mom came home and then called all the kids. Was she like one of 11 or one of 14? Like she's one of many, many
wild,
children. And my mom came home with this bag of money that she'd earned. And then she called us all and she threw the $3,000 on us. Like she did, like she literally showered money on her family.
She made it rain on her children.
That story though, I was like, it's important. Like they foreground that like these are Mormons. They have a lot of children. They believe in like self-reliance and being entrepreneurs. And then they also believe in like going out and getting that money for your family. So I kind of feel like what protects them as a company is that religious shield. Like they're able to sort of be like, well, if you don't like us, it's because you're persecuting us, right? Like we have built this beautiful thing and we're blessing all these people. Like it's odd that that like the stain doesn't kind of stick. They're a little bit Teflon-y.
But there's a lot of, but these people are also tremendous actors. I mean, the difference in their personality during those depositions. Is massive. Did you do? I don't recall. I did that. I don't remember that. And then in the documentary footage, they can't wait to claim everything. This was my idea. I did this. I'm the smartest. I'm the best. And then deposition time. It's all. I have no idea where that came from. I don't know. It's weird. I mean, granted, they had a relative that literally didn't know anything, but...
God.
I'm obsessed with what the fun son wore to the deposition. He
Oh my
wore that
God.
like black suit with like the tropical party sleeves.
Yeah.
And then Deanne drank that giant like strawberry frappuccino
It
that she
looked like-
kept shaking.
It looked like John Ralphio from Parks and Rec showed up to that deposition. It's wild to me. And the strawberry beverage, like that is a supporting character in this whole thing because it tells us everything we need to know about this Deanne. Like Deanne is a lot. Mm-hmm. And just, I mean, I wasn't surprised when we got to the portion where it's, the toxic masculinity is at the head of the company and her subservient thing to men. Oh my God. When they're reading the passages from that book,
Her mom's book.
I just, or when the interviewer asks like Deanne, he's like, can you talk to me about, it's women empowering women, and her husband just can't stop himself. He's like, actually, can I jump in here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my God, this
Well,
guy.
that idea of retiring your husband.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Well, women have to be like in the LDS. It's like women, like Deanne is a boss, but she's never allowed to say it, and I found that so fascinating. Right? It's like I found myself sewing these maxi skirts. Like it's always this passive language, and then I happened upon these dresses, and then I did dress parties. Like it's she always talks as if these sort of blessings just unfolded upon her, that she had no direct action, and then anytime there was a decision, it's like always Mark that made the decision. So it's very important for him to be like, let me talk about how she empowered women. Like she's not allowed to say like I'm a boss babe. Like those words will never leave her mouth, even at the same time that she's telling retailers like, if your husband doesn't want you to buy $10,000 of leggings with, suspicious looking maybe penis prints on them, you should just get down on your knees for 5 minutes a day, right? Like, what a wild just character this woman is.
It is mind melting. I also just find it obviously always so stomach turning when like people are very specifically targeting like moms like who already have like such a difficult position in the world and just in our society. Like
it kind of reminded me of this documentary that came out last year called The Gig Is Up. I don't know if anybody saw that, but it was just about like how the gig economy exploits workers. And like this kind of speaks to like how many stay-at-home moms are out there that like the job economy doesn't work for. And it's just like the same way, like the gig economy works for gig workers who can't, or for whatever reason work in a traditional job and need to figure out something else to do, but they end up getting exploited. And it just speaks to like how many people there are out there that like have to find some way to work, and because they can't work in like a regular traditional type job, and how like there's not a lot out there.
Well, and if your religion says that you need to be in the home sphere, like you need to be an angel of the home, and then all of a sudden there's this opportunity to work from home and be with your kids, that's also like acknowledging your work as a mother, wouldn't that be so seductive to you? Like, I'm not a mother, but I hear all the time from my close friends who've had kids or, or are single parents in the last few years, like just how judgmental they feel modern mother culture is. And so like this, I think it really, the thing I think that gets me is just, I see a lot of women who are looking for what I think we all look for, which is a chance to have community and to bond with other people. Like the thing where they're creating cringy music videos and everything else. I'm like, oh my gosh, like these are women where if we lived in a just society where, we had universal basic income and other things, like they would just have a hobby and have fun together.
Yeah.
But instead, they have to kind of like pound that square peg into this round hole, right? They have to make this money, but they're trying to like make it mean so much in their lives. And like, I think that's the genius of this particular scam, is that it starts out by kind of being like, hey, I see you. Like, I see you, stay at home mom, like wanting to be there for your family and wanting to contribute to your household. And like, here is how you can like be at home or be hanging out with your kids and like do these parties and make money. Like, it's just, it really is predatory. And like, so it's that kind of like, what do we even call it? It's like a bait and switch kind of feminism in a way,
For
right?
sure.
But they also explain how the LuLaRich craze was a perfect storm of conditions, with a downturn in the economy, with athleisure coming up, with, I guess, even when you think about mummy bloggers, really, you know, this whole cult of being the perfect mom and staying at home and doing everything, you know, just right. So that perfect storm is what makes this documentary really interesting too, because at any other time it might not have happened. However, you might have ended up joining another one of those selling something else. But yeah, it's kind of fascinating how this all came together.
Well, and I think
social
the
media,
Facebook,
right?
well,
And-
I was
and
gonna
that
say,
too,
the
yes,
Facebook
yeah.
Live component.
Yeah.
The Facebook Live component actually is super interesting to me, because that activates sort of a, like, almost like a gambling shopping addiction brain. Like, if you're bidding on stuff live, like you're watching people unbox these things, and there's 1,000 people in her Facebook Live, like just claiming stuff, and you have to be there fast. And like the scarcity of like, you might not get the print, this is limited edition, like you might never see it again. Like, all like to gamify and have it be such like, risk reward sort of scenarios over and over again, like it completely takes shopping in a different direction than what we would sort of conventionally think of as like just you know, going to the Bay or something, you know, like it's just a completely different way of commerce, like just commerce as play and as like, I don't know, just like, it's just something that I think could really activate a lot of people's brains in a different way. That's not great.
Yeah. Like mechanics of scarcity, right?
Yeah.
But with like the promise of abundance, like that is a beautiful, perfect tension. It also makes me think of like how kids love unboxing videos, or like videos of other kids playing with toys. Like that's very popular on YouTube for quite young kids. And I'm like, this is the adult version of that, right? Is like the thrill of being like, ooh, will I get to bid on it? It replicates eBay, like early days of eBay. It just, it replicates all these kind of online mechanisms. And I think probably during the pandemic, a lot of us bought stuff online to get that like dopamine hit. And then as soon as you've like bought your cart, you're like, oh, like you feel like, or then you get to wait for the package to come. But like, if you don't have another package coming, where are you going to get that? You get addicted to that little bit of surprise. And like their model too, where they were like, oh, these are rare, the unicorn whole part, right? Like we're not going to let you pick actually what you get. You only get to pick the genre of clothing. So you're going to order shirts, and you can order leggings, and you can order dresses, and like they could all be a weird Christmas print with Deanne's face on it, right? Like that, which is a real print that they made. Like what? And how that would encourage you to buy more and more, so that you would have the like rare prints that people would want. And
those images of all those boxes of clothing in the warehouse and sitting
and outside.
It was just like, oh my God, it's so distressing. One thing I was wondering about is like, they talk a lot about the fabric taking a nosedive in terms of quality, like seemingly all of a sudden, like people getting holes in it and stuff. But they don't really ask Mark or Deanne for any kind of explanation to that. Because like, Cynara, you said at the beginning, like the dress you have is really good quality. And if they're getting more and more successful and making more and more money, like why did their fabrics become seemingly worse and worse and worse?
Yeah, I feel like it's a big scaling quality control problem, right? Like probably they needed to do more and more product, and they needed people who could like cut the clothes quicker. Like what I imagine is just like a domino effect of fashion production. Because when I juxtapose this like with what I know about slow fashion, which is like in the last few years become more of a passion of mine, like it takes a really long time, right? Like you're pre-ordering that pair of pants like 5 months before they get made. And like, so I think it must have been like, as soon as they decided that they were going to onboard so many people, they needed so much more inventory. They were probably like, you're right though, they don't get into the like, where are they manufacturing this stuff? Where is that coming from? And I assume there's like a ton of corners being
well,
cut.
I thought they were going to get into that when they introduced the guy, was it called My Dye or Your Dye?
My Dyer.
My Dyer.
Yeah.
When that guy was introduced, I thought they were going to get into like blame him for the quality problems or something, but they didn't.
I feel like that ended up getting settled in, or buried in different lawsuits. And I feel like this documentary was probably supposed to be 6 parts, and that they had a bunch of stuff legally they couldn't include. Because I feel like that's why we cut some corners. Like there's not really a good explanation as to why product, when it was so in demand and they had so many people signed up, was just sitting outside in shipping containers. Like there's no real reason for that, and for it to get moldy and gross and weird, except for the fact that like the company was so poorly run, they probably weren't shipping things in a timely fashion. But like it doesn't, like they don't answer a lot of questions at all about sort of quality and quality control. So yeah, especially with the counter lawsuits that were happening.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, I was just gonna say, that's so weird for a fashion company too. Like I did keep waiting for that to be a draw. Like when people talked about what drew them to it was like, oh, I could sell to my friends and family, I could work from home. But they didn't spend a lot of time having people say like, oh, I felt cute and empowered by this clothing. Like they really didn't focus on how it made people feel, what they liked about it. And then a lot of people were online just being like, oh, those fugly leggings. And I was like, listen, LuLaRich has a lot to answer for, but prints are nice. Like we're still allowed to enjoy prints. Do not let these like, I don't know, truckloads of fart leggings make you think that prints are bad. Like definitely they messed up. They have a lot to answer for, but like, yeah, it is odd to me. I feel like you're right though. It's probably tied up in legal stuff because they talked a bit about the leggings. They had some evidence there, but like they didn't really get into the quality control. But I also think that's because Mark and Deanne deny that, right? They're just like, well, if you think the leggings are damaged, you're damaged. Like they wouldn't. Like
incredible responses. When he's like, not all boxes are created equal. What are you gonna make of your box, basically? And just like blaming, like, oh my god, wow. That guy.
Your inventory's stale? No, you're stale.
You're stale. Yeah, it's such like bullying nonsense. Like it's just so ridiculous. I need to just talk though about like everything that involves, you know, sort of preying on women's insecurities and vulnerabilities eventually will become anti-fat in its like sort of most vicious. And the fact that they have a whole special hookup for gastric bypass surgery in Tijuana, and then a chat group devoted to it after, called Tijuana Skinnies, is my blood was boiling.
Yeah.
My blood. Did you know that you can just be like a better person in both, like, you know, your religion's eyes and capitalism's eyes if you would just get skinny. Like that's really the solution.
I didn't actually know about their connection to this, like, we understand, what was it? It was like No Obesity for You. Like it had a truly terrible name.
Yeah, awful.
No More Obesity for You with like a number 4. Like it was just awful. But she was like, we lovingly, joyously brought 18 people over, like in her promotional video. And I'm like, okay, so like there's always a scam within a scam. Like clearly you are getting something
She's
out
getting
of this.
kickbacks for sure.
Yeah, you're getting kickbacks, you're getting like free extra surgeries, who knows what's going on. I thought, like, I don't like to talk about people's bodies, but what I will say is that we had a lot of footage of Deanne post-surgery and now, and it's very clear to me that like that weight loss surgery has not maintained. Like her
Absolutely.
size has changed because we know that the efficacy of these procedures is often not lifelong. And in fact, a lot of people, you know, die or become ill. So I just was like, wow, like what a dark little corner that I didn't even know was possible, because it had been presented to me. Like the reason I kind of didn't smell something fishy at first was like they were very size inclusive. So like at a time when a lot of brands were not going to a 4X like LuLaRich did. And that was part of how they were recruiting people. So it's like even more insidious that they were clearly like bringing, you know, there were clearly plus size women represented among these retailers. And it's like, oh, not only are we kind of bringing you in under this false guise of community, like it's actually turns out it's a diet club. Like, ugh. Yikes.
But I mean, that's the thing about like it looked like all the leggings, like when they're first starting out. I don't know if it was up to a 4X from the very beginning or not. It usually that kind of stuff isn't. But it looked like one of those things where because they are so spandexed or like there's so much stretch in them, if you buy an extra large, it probably did fit someone who might be a 2XL. And so that gives like it just makes it so that so many more people can buy your product. And so they see that, they sort of like expand their actual sizing up to a 4X or whatever. And then they're just like, so we can't help all the fatties, but our top earning ones, we can show them that they need to like come on board with our company, because not only is it going to transform your bank account, it's going to transform your body.
Yeah.
And like, this is what true success looks like. And it's... Ugh. And just like all those like carbon copy, like white, thin, blonde women at sort of like the upper ranks is so just awful.
It reminded me of like, I probably shouldn't, no offense to the entire publishing industry in Canada, but when I went to grad school, I had like decided that I was, you know, I didn't have a lot of disposable income for my appearance. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to like grow my hair out and dye it a really normal color, chestnut brown. And then I looked around the room and everybody was thin and had long chestnut brown hair, except I was fat and had chestnut brown hair. And I was like, oh no. like this is very upsetting. I think it's a problem if we all look the same. Like that is not a way to stand out when you're trying to like have a new career. But that's like my worst fear, honestly, is to like look around a room and just be like, oh my gosh, we all look the same. Like that really tells you that you've entered like a hotbed of white supremacy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like that is a bad vibe when you look around and everyone is like a thin, you know, white lady wearing a chambray shirt and like a pair of Technicolor penis printed leggings. Like it's just.
Can we just give a hat tip to like the woman, her name's Becca, who sells washi tape.
Oh my God, Becca.
Her hobby is like investigating LuLaRich just for fun.
Just for
Like-
I love Becca. Becca is every. I mean, you know, she. Yeah, sure. She's got her washi tape thing or whatever. Like I'm sure there is something to
It's
raise
a huge
eyebrows about there.
market.
It's huge market,
Yeah.
huge market. But like, I loved her so much, and when she came in episode 2, and I like literally wrote in all caps in my notes, Becca! And I thought we would see more of her. But again, that's why I actually think this doc was supposed to be longer and ended up getting cut down, because I think Becca had more things to say.
But she did get in that classic line. Like, it definitely bothered me that someone was wrong on the internet.
Yeah. There was that other journalist they got who was like the feud between the My Dyer and LuLaRich was like the meme of two Spider-Men pointing at each other. And I was oh yeah, they got in some good, like there was a good cast of people that emerged from that, like Jill, I'm going to forget her last name, that one journalist who was...
Flipovich or
she was super astute. And then, like, we had the incredible character of, like, Daryl Trujillo, the man who can never listen to Kelly Clarkson again. And Lachey, the incredible
I love Lachey so much. Lachey's great.
Gave us that wonderful quote of, like, I didn't go on the LuLaRich cruise because, like, I just gotta say a boat full of white people, not my scene, like, no thanks. And I was like a hero, like an icon, a legend. She's like, I'll see you when you get back, was her vibe.
Yeah.
Or just like how she walked in on the first day wearing Chanel and had to change.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's...
Lachey better get like a deal out of this. Like, I want her to get her own like talk show, fashion line. So, like, something is headed her way because
somebody's starting a podcast for sure. In this
she was so charming and smart and like just had so much presence. Before we sort of like wrap up the episode, Cynara, again, you have brought a game for us.
I have. It's a very special game. It's called Deanne, Mark, or Clark. The Clark in this game stands for Kelly Clarkson.
Wow!
A former, who we know, former LuLaRich retail associate Daryl Trujillo, who we were just talking to. He can never listen to her again. He was very sad because he loved her and he loved that duet with Jason Aldean, Don't You Want to Stay? And it's one of his all-time favorite songs, and now he can't listen to it anymore because they booked Kelly Clarkson to play one of their mega concerts when they owed all those retailers money. So...
that's an ethical man there, because his favorite
song.
So ethical.
So ethical. In Vanity Fair, he actually said he doesn't leave sporting events if Kelly Clarkson plays, but he forces himself not to enjoy it, which I just think is amazing. That's
okay.
Good.
I love this. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do for this game is I'm going to read you a quote, and you need to guess who said it. Mark Stidham, Deanne Stidham, or the devil herself, Kelly Clarkson. So welcome to the game, Deanne, Mark, or Clark. So I'll read you the quote, and then you can all kind of say who you think it is, one at a time, maybe. So the universe is ultimately fair. Who said that? Was it Mark, Deanne, or Clark? Let's go with Lisa. Lisa first.
I think I'm going to go with Deanne.
Okay. Andrea Gin.
Mark. Andrea
Warner.
Clark.
That was Mark. That was one of
Wow.
Mark's. Great work, Andrea Gin. 1 point for you. Here's our next quote. I'm actually not a big fan of the word hope. I think it's a depressing word. I don't want to hope. I want to know. So who do we think said that? Deanne, Mark, or Clark? And I'll go to Andrea Gin first.
Deanne.
I'll go to Andrea Warner next.
I also think Deanne.
Lisa?
I'm going to go with Kelly Clarkson.
It goes to Lisa. That was Kelly Clarkson.
Wow. Well, I'm not good at this game, but let's play more.
Let's forge ahead. Being a mother, I knew that most of all, I wanted my kids to look great.
Definitely Mark. Sorry.
Being a mother, I knew that most of all, I wanted my kids to look great. I love this quote. I think it's incredible. It's what all mothers want.
I think that's at the very beginning. It's Deanne when she's talking about finding those dresses at the Pasadena flea market or something.
Andrea Warner.
Agreed, Deanne.
Yeah, I would say Deanne too.
You're correct. That is a beautiful quote from Deanne Stidham.
Yay.
One of my favorites. Okay.
She's had 12 children herself, but that's mostly she's just wants them to look great.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about feeding them, but she wants them to look great.
The universe is fair.
Okay, here's another quote for you. This is the greatest psychological experiment in human history. Who said it? Mark,
I know that.
Deanne, or Clark? Andrea Warner first.
Mark.
Andrea Gin.
Mark.
Lisa.
I'll agree with them.
You are correct. That is.
Yeah.
That
I
is
wrote
a
it down as
quote
one of
from
my
Mark.
quotes, and I was like, Mark is the worst.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, another quote for you. Get up, get dressed, and show up. So was that Deanne, Clark, or Mark? We'll go to Lisa first.
Kelly Clarkson.
Okay. Andrea Gin.
Kelly Clarkson.
Andrea Warner.
I'm going to say Deanne.
It goes to Andrea Warner. That was Deanne.
Oh, well done.
It's kind of incredible how it's hard to tell, though, isn't it?
It is.
Wow. Okay, so here's another one for you. I've always been about less government.
That's
Was
Mark.
that Mark, Clark, or Deanne? So Lisa is saying Mark.
Mark.
Andrea
Mark.
Gin.
Oh, sorry.
Clark.
Andrea Warner and Mark.
Mark,
Is that where
yeah.
you're... That was Kelly Clarkson.
Oh,
Sorry, y'all. She's
wow.
anti-gov. I don't know what to say.
Is Kelly Clarkson
Wow.
a libertarian?
I sense that.
She plays
I sense
LuLaRich.
She did
That's
play
true.
LuLaRich with all those
Yeah.
lawsuits. Okay,
Yeah.
here's another great one for you. Life gives you lemons, suck it up. Who gave us that great quote?
I'm going to go with Deanne.
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 That was Mark.
Wow. That's right.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A classic Mark.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another one of my faves. I saw dollar signs of excitement. Who gave us that great quote?
Deanne.
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 Yeah, that is Deanne.
Yeah.
And the last quote of our game. If I can wake up every day before I die and know that I don't have to bring anyone food or drinks, I will be happy.
Mark.
Kelly Clarkson.
Deanne.
That was Kelly Clarkson.
Well, that was a good game.
Such a good
Thank
game.
you. What a great
Dan, Mark, or
game.
Clark? I think we all
Loved it.
won.
It was great. Thank you.
We all won,
Yeah.
but we also all lost because now we all have to also dislike Kelly Clarkson, which, as you know, is
Yeah.
very
It's very
painful.
hard. Very
Yeah,
painful.
that's a
Very,
bummer.
very.
I really, yeah, that's a bummer. Well,
I love Miss Independent. I just always have. Now I
yeah,
have to
no, I liked her
change.
too. I liked
Yeah.
her too. It's a bummer. You'd rather know though, right?
I would rather know.
You could still enjoy the music, I guess, but I'd rather
Not
know.
that Jason Aldean song, though.
Not that Jason Aldean song.
Since you've been gone, it's just going to hit a little harder than
It,
it
Yeah.
used
it
to.
does hit a little harder
Yeah.
already. Yeah. So I know how I feel. I think LuLaRich pops.
Oh,
How about
big
you guys?
time. Yeah,
definitely.
Oh,
yeah.
it for sure pops, and I want them to make another one somehow.
Yeah.
Like, once we're all out of litigation. Like,
I
what a
just, like,
coup.
Can't
to
even
get-
believe the company still exists.
I was just looking them up while we were doing this, and it's
Because
full
I
steam
kind of
ahead.
want to. Yeah, I kind of want to get some leggings. Just
They're
to
got
see
some
what they look
Halloween
like.
leggings, just so you know.
Yeah.
See? I knew I would get you all on board.
Yeah, that's right. We're ready.
All right. Well, we also love to leave our episodes on something we recommend. So, Cynara, as our delightful guest, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I'm really loving this season of What We Do in the Shadows. I always think it's been such a funny show, but it's really outdoing itself this season. So if you haven't watched it yet, it's just a real chef's kiss. I love Matt Berry. I love that whole cast. That whole cast can get it, to be honest.
Agreed.
And
Agreed. They're
really
making
doing-
more Toast of London, too.
Oh, I love Toast of London as
Yeah,
well.
me
So
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's completely my thing. Kristen Shaw is in this season doing incredible work as you would expect her to do.
Yeah.
It's just great. So that's my
That's awesome.
recommendation.
Yay. Thank you. Lisa, what about you?
I have found out on a streaming channel that I seem to have, and I'm probably spending money on, and I've forgotten because I signed up for a minute to watch it, that I am now watching season 5 of The Good Fight, and it is starting off, as many shows do, with the COVID panic beginning.
Oh.
So, yeah, I guess that's where all our new sitcom or all our new shows are going to be following that path. So I'm looking forward to digging in. I'm just got into the first episode.
Cool. Season 4 of The Good Fight was freaking weird.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful for season 5 because I can't do another season like season 4.
Oh,
Well, season 5
is weird, but like also amazing. I think you're gonna
Okay,
love it.
good. Good. AG, what about you?
So our friends at Media Girlfriends dropped a new podcast this week called Strong and Free. It was the first episode. It's they're partnering with Historica Canada to do a podcast about Black history in Canada. It's a 6-part podcast. And the first episode is so nice. The host is Garvia Bailey, who wrote it too, and she talks to her mother. She talks to her mother about immigrating to Canada under the West Indian domestic scheme, which brought a lot of women to Canada to work as domestic workers, and sort of like just how that enabled multiculturalism in Canada and how it enabled Canadian women to get back into the workforce. And so, it just had these rippling effects throughout Canadian society. And it's a really great first episode of a podcast, and I highly recommend it.
Awesome. Sounds great. I'm going to recommend my friend Justina has a new book of poetry. It's her debut book of poetry. Her name is Justina Kroll, Krol, and it's called You Are Doing Excellent Work. It is part of Frog Hollow Press, their Disability series, number 25, and has this like really beautiful cover with this amazing illustration, Tanisha T. Samuel, and Justina's she's great, and I really love her writing, and I'm just so excited for her to finally have her debut book of poetry out in the world. So I wanted to celebrate.
How exciting.
Justina.
That's fantastic. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay. So thank you so much, Cynara, for joining us again.
Yeah.
So
Thank you for bringing LuLaRich to our attention as well.
Yes.
And for
You're getting so
great
good
game.
at these games. You're really getting good.
Thanks for bringing the games.
We just
really
love to play. It's so fun. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for listening, for hanging out with us. If you would like to... Oh, Cynara, if you want people to find you online, where do you want them to find you?
Oh, yeah. They can find me on Twitter or on Instagram at Cynara G. That's CYNARAGEE.
Perfect. You can hang out with us on Facebook, Instagram, potentially... Twitter. Yes. No, Twitter for sure. And you could email us. That's what I meant to say, at popthiscollective@gmail.com.
And thanks always to all of you. And thanks to Andrea Gin for producing this podcast. And also now fully enmeshed into this whole thing and having to watch all of these shows that she used to say to us. Of course I didn't watch that. Oh, the good old days. Remember?
The good old days. And also, this is going to be episode 299. So
Wow.
stay tuned. Episode 300 coming your way. Exciting.
That's exciting.
Can you believe it?
All right.
My God.
No.
Can't even.
No.
Cynara, thanks again. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.